you think the die is cast for Biden? Do you think? I mean, you read that what is the quote? I think is something. Don't compare me to the Almighty. Compare me to the alternative. I believe maybe that's a strategy. Maybe it's not. But do you think that Biden shares the spotlight more, assuming that it's a Trump Biden, and we'll come to a couple of questions I got on that. But just at this moment, assuming it's a Trump Biden general election, does Biden get any hope that now he's sharing the spotlight more with Trump, and Trump's, if Biden has some negatives, Trump's negatives start to get focus?
Yeah, I would never say that, there's no way Biden can come back, that this thing's all locked up. And just, we both have been around politics for a long time, and you've actually won elections. I haven't. But when there's some feelings that people have that they are somewhat malleable, but there's some that seem to be getting deeply ingrained. And the fact that President Biden's numbers have stayed in this very, very narrow trading range since September of 2021, that it suggests that it's sort of some of these things have hardened to a large extent, and that for those independent voters in the middle, they may or may not personally like former President Trump. They may not like his behavior, but they associate that 4 years with a better time than the last 3 years. And, I have to say, I still having to kind of get my arms around the idea that, the most disruptive political figure in American political history somehow represents stability to this narrow group in the middle. But that would seem to be the case. But no, I don't think it's done. But there's a lot of just really troubling data. I mean, just take, for example, the 6 swing states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and then Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. Some people throw in North Carolina as well. But those first 6, and Biden carried all 6. Right now, he's, just to look at the Real Clear Politics averages, Trump is ahead in 5 of them. And 2 of them are more or less tied within a percentage point, Michigan and Pennsylvania. Those are not, I mean, even if Biden won both of those, Trump would still get 278 electoral votes, and which is enough to win. But no, I don't think it's over, but I don't think this thing is nearly as in play as a lot of other people seem to think or would like to think it is. And again, I'm not for or against anybody. My job is just call balls and strikes. But I'd rather have the hand that Donald Trump's carrying, even with all of his legal problems and personality. I'd rather have that than the hand that President Biden's holding.
So we've had a couple of questions. Obviously, this has been in the press as well, and there's still primaries going on, in both the Democratic and Republican primaries that are going on. Is it a fait accompli that it will be Trump versus Biden? There's questions? Will Dean Phillips break through, or Nikki Haley break through? I think you know the answer to that. But what is the likelihood that one of those two doesn't become the nominee, that Biden decides not to run, or something happens and Trump doesn't run?
Yeah, I mean, given the circumstances, I could see someone like President Biden deciding not to run. But the fact that hadn't happened now, and it seems to be diminishing in likelihood, every week that goes by, at this point, I think there's just a very small chance. And so at that point, unless he had just sort of some kind of a medical event, it's happening. And most Americans have no really idea who Dean Phillips is. And, he could live to 110 and they still won't know who he was. For former President Trump, I think this thing hasn't been competitive in 10 months or so. That there was a little flurry early in 2020, right after the mid-22 midterm election. But after about 4 months after that, and actually after the Manhattan grand jury indicted him on the porn payoff case, his numbers snap back among Republicans. And when you look at polling that asks Republicans, I mean that 85% or so of Republicans have a favorable opinion of Trump, half of them very favorable. 60% to 2/3 will at least say they think that he actually won the election. Big majorities think that he's done little or nothing wrong, or it's all exaggerated or politically motivated, or he's a victim of political targeting. And they see him as very electable. So for these other candidates, and many of them are very, Haley, some of the others, very bright, talented people, they're like job applicants where there is no job opening. And that for Republicans just weren't looking for an alternative. Most of them weren't looking for an alternative to Trump. And if anything, this is more of an audition for 2028 than anything else. But again, short of a medical event, but I don't think there's going to be a federal criminal trial this year. And the Georgia case has been somewhat discredited, and the New York state case was the flimsiest of all of them. I don't think there's going to be a legal thing happen between now and the election. So, I think it's just down to, some medical is the only thing that could sort of derail Trump's nomination. And, they should have that. They should have the 1,215 delegates within the next 2 weeks, the majority. So I think it's about as set as things get in American politics.